Hey, welcome to the Macabre Emporium. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone,
We are back.
for episode 5 of Macabre Emporium podcast.
Yes.
So, hopefully, you've enjoyed this journey along with us so far at this point, and we kind of have an announcement that we have for you in case you aren't in our Facebook group.
Yes.
We have decided that we have become a little bit more comfortable with the whole process, so our big announcement is that we are going to try and move on to releasing episodes weekly.
Weekly.
Yay! Now we almost sound like a real podcast since we're going to be doing weekly.
We're a real boy now.
Yeah. If we start to feel like the quality of the episode is starting to slip at any point, we're probably going to scale it back to either maybe only doing 3 episodes a month or go back to our bi-weekly episode release until we can get things figured out. So this week we're going to wander away from our true crime and go into a new area. We're going to do some cryptids for you this week.
And an urban legend.
Well, yep. So I have 2 cryptids because they're both quite interesting. One's kind of well known. Yes, I know I'm breaking the rule, but there's reasons behind I broke it.
But you did, you to be fair, you only said that we're not going to be doing the big 6, like serial killers.
That's true, but I don't know. It might be because of some cryptids. I mean, I'm not doing Mothman.
Well, yeah.
We're not doing Mothman. I'm not doing Bigfoot or Bigfoot type-esque because Indiana does have basically a Sasquatch legend, but what state doesn't, right?
Sam Squatch.
It's a Sam Squatch, Julian! Anyhow.
We're going to start with you doing one of your cryptids.
Right.
And then I'm going to read my urban legend. And then you're going to finish it off with another cryptid.
Right. Now, I did find some information on both of these that can basically debunk them, but it's still interesting to see because cryptids basically were born out of people not knowing what things are.
So, stupidity.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. You gotta understand, they're not as knowledgeable as we are now as they were in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be starting off with a lesser known one. I didn't know this thing existed until I started looking into cryptids. It's called the Crawfordsville Monster. And I'm also doing the Beast of Busco.
The Beast of Busco.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like something you can get it from Taco Bell almost. The Beast of Busco something Dorito.
Beast of Busco with extra sour cream.
Oh, maybe not Taco Bell, because it would have something Dorito on the end of it.
Oh, God. Not all of them do.
Buscarito. Yeah, why I chose Beast of Busco, even though it's kind of fairly well known, is because you've seen the signs for Turtletown, USA, and you don't know it, so that's why I decided to do it, even though it's a pretty well-known cryptid.
I've never heard of it.
You never heard of it?
Nope.
Well, you're going to find out about why Churubusco is Turtletown, USA.
Also, I'm excited to hear about it because it's home to my favorite ever McDonald's.
You know, I had that in my script about making comment about that, but I knew you were going to do it before we even got it once I mentioned Churubusco.
So let's break that down for a second.
So actually, let's wait and hold that off till we get to...
Oh, we're doing that one last?
Yeah. We're going to make you wait.
Anticlimactic. Okay.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
let's get started.
Okay.
Before, Lugosi or Salem decide to jump up on our shop counter again instead of doing their duties and keeping the rodents out of the merchandise here.
They're on mouse patrol and they suck at it.
Yeah, lazy fucks. Anyhow, in recent years, we have all have heard the term fake news more and more recently. With social media, fake news has become more prevalent in our lives. In earlier times, fake news was generally taken as real news and would cause panic as the stories become better known in faraway cities. Today, I'm bringing you the tale of a cryptid that was precisely just that, the Crawfordsville Monster.
Where is Crawfordsville?
Crawfordsville is here in Indiana, and it's about 50 miles northwest of Indianapolis, which is about 3.5 hours away from us. It was founded in 1834. Crawfordsville has a population of 16,000 people today, as the last U.S. Census Bureau that I could find on record showed. It was in 1890 when this atmospheric cryptid known as the Crawfordsville Monster was first spotted. In the early morning hours of September 5th, 1891, two icemongers, which is salesmen from ice basically,
Right.
Marshall McIntyre and Bill Gray were preparing their ice wagon for their day's work. They both would have this overwhelming sense of dread as they described it, and when they looked up in the sky, that's when they saw the monster. They recalled it to be about 300 to 400 feet in the air above them, just hovering. They were so scared by this sight that they ran and took shelter in a nearby barn and observed it flying in a circle around the house before it flew off to the east.
So this is a flying thing.
Yes, this is atmospheric is in the air.
I must have missed that. Okay.
About 2 hours before Gray and McIntyre are seeing the monster, Reverend G.W. Switzer of the Methodist Church here in Crawfordsville had gotten up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water from the church's well. He would get a strange feeling as he'd look up and he spotted the monster in the glow of the electric lights. I'm presuming that these would probably be street lights at this time, just because at the time, this is the middle of the night. Not many people are going to be probably up with their lights on or
Right.
even have their house electrified yet at this point.
Right.
Switzer called to his wife to come out and see the monster with him. The minister described his encounter with the monster as being at least 16 feet long and 18 feet wide, and moving, flowing like a drapery or swimming through the air from the southeast. After a few minutes of observing the monster, the Reverend and his wife returned to bed as they grew tired again. Several hundred residents also spotted this monster with similar descriptions the nights following the first two. Some of the other descriptions that were compiled for the description of the Crawfordsville Monster are anywhere between 8 to 20 feet in length, 8 feet wide, no real definitive shape, moving with several pair of fins, white in color, a giant red eye.
A singular giant red eye?
Singular giant red eye. No distinguishable face or tail. Wheezing type sound from an invisible mouth.
Weird.
Now, there's a video I'm going to show you here after I go through all this.
Okay.
So try and remember some of all those details.
Okay.
Newspapers across the country are starting to take notice of this story, as far as east as Brooklyn, New York, and to the west as St. Louis. Reports of the monsters created believers. One cult known as the Millerites claimed it to be a sign of the end of the world.
It's always the end of the world.
Yeah, because everything that has no real explanation is, it's the end times.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's allowed for us to bash cults because they're wackadoodles. A woman in St. Louis became so worried she started writing letters wanting to know if it can be seen during daytime hours, its color, migration pattern, and if it's even been spotted anywhere in Ohio. And reading some of the news articles, I couldn't find anything else about it. That's like all of them. That's all I said is about this lady in Ohio.
That's it. She's the only one that was like, hey, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, but they never describe what her reasoning was. They want to know about Ohio so damn bad. My guess is probably family lived there. Even though the Reverend could account for everything that he saw, Professor Robert Burton of the Keeley Institute of Inebriates sends letters to the editor of the Crawfordsville Daily Journal. Now, the first time I read the name of this place, it sounds like a very fancy way of saying halfway house for alcoholics.
The inebriate, yeah.
Yeah. The Institute of Inebriates. Super fancy in 1800s language. In his letters, he was saying that Reverend Switzer is delusional and needed treatment for his intoxicants of his optic nerves.
What?
Yeah, he was saying that the Reverend was hallucinating because his eyes were drunk, basically.
Wow. He
Yeah.
must have drank really heavily.
Well, being a Reverend...
Even my eyes are drunk.
Being a Reverend, I highly doubt that was the case. But, people of faith, doctors, anybody with a credible reputation of some sort, profession or whatever, or usually when they're attached to stories like this, the people tend to believe them more. It's like, oh, he's a doctor. He's not gonna be crazy. He's gonna,
Right.
So that's kind of like when you're reading paranormal stories. If there's anything like that, more than likely it's a bullshit story. With like the guys over at Dark Windows, they have on their Patreon that occasionally they'll do based off of Art Bell's Factor Crap, I think is what he called it. He'd have people call in with either a true story or it was called Truth or Trash is what it was called. People would call in with either a true story or a fake story, and then he'd open the phone lines to the other listeners like, oh, that's truth, that's trash, and then the caller would finally reveal if it was truth or trash.
Huh.
Those are actually some of the quite few episodes that were quite interesting to listen to. But anyhow, getting off track here, because I could talk about him for like ever.
I know.
With most cryptids, there may or may have not been a rational explanation for their existence. For the Crawfordsville Monster, there actually is one. 2 local men follow a large flock of the hundreds of species of birds called killdeer. Killdeer are brown with a white belly. Now, I did look into this trying to find a video of a flock of killdeer in flight, but I wasn't able to find one because according to NatureWorks on PBS's website, killdeer are solitary birds or paired mates, meaning these birds will most likely were identified as the quote-unquote Crawfordsville Monster.
Okay. There
is another bird that does fly in somewhat of a pattern of what the Crawfordsville Monster has been used as a description. Starlings.
Oh.
But so I'm going to show you a little bit of a video of a migration flight of starlings, and when you're watching this, keep in mind of what the description of the Crawfordsville Monster is.
Okay.
So approximately 8 to 20 feet in length, could be anywhere to 8 feet wide. No definitive shape, as
they couldn't tell that those were birds.
You got to remember, this was in the middle of the night when this happened. So they're only going to catch little bits and pieces of it in the land. I'm going to share this YouTube link too for the video I'm having Sarah watch right now for anybody else that wants to see it.
But also, if it's just birds, where did the one singular red eye come from?
That one part I haven't gotten to yet. I just wanted you to see this video with the description.
I mean, it's cool.
But also, like the Reverend said, it flows like a drapery.
Yeah, I can see that.
You see it now?
Yeah.
So that's why I chose this video, so you can see it.
Okay. It's cool.
So
I dig it. You can leave it playing.
Okay. Well, hopefully audio doesn't keep playing, or you get straight mesmerized by it too much.
It is cool. Okay, go on.
All right. So now that you've watched that, you can see why I said a flock of starlings could really be why Crawfordsville Monster was this.
Yeah, because if they're flying close together, I mean, it is really thick.
Yeah, and then
dark. Like
several,
Also, that's what she said. Sorry, guys.
That's what she said. But the several pairs of fins, wings, basically, and the sound probably. We've heard starling flocks in trees, so that's what it kind of sounds like. Starlings usually are more active during dusk in their formation display, as in the video I just watched, which, like I said, I'm going to share this link so anybody curious to see can see it too. Usually when they do this flight pattern, this is before they bed down for the night, but my opinion would be just because of environmental changes in the 1890s because of electric lights, probably could have confused the flock of starlings that it's daytime or dusk, because that's normally when they make this type of flight.
Right.
So that would be my unprofessional opinion, I guess you could say. What the Crawfordsville Monster was a flock of starlings.
I mean, it is really mesmerizing.
Yeah. I probably should turn this off because you're like not really paying attention.
I am. I'm listening to everything you're saying.
All right.
But yeah, that's distracting because it's so cool.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to close that now.
Oh, okay.
Out of curiosity, I was curious if there might have been a Mothman festival, or like with the other one, there's Turtle Days. If there was a Crawfordsville Monster Festival, unfortunately, there is not one, but there is a artist on Spotify. He goes by the name of Raincoat. And to find him, you have to have the ellipsis, the 3 periods on the end. That's his name, is Raincoat with the 3 periods on the end. The majority of their songs are all named after cryptids. There is one called the Crawfordsville Monster. And there is also one called the Beast of Busco.
Beast of Busco.
And there is also a brewing company in Crawfordsville that has paid tribute to this cryptid called with a Imperial Stout beer. Imperial Stout beer is dark in color and has a high alcohol content of over 9%.
Jesus.
So that's a little bit about the Crawfordsville Monster, even though there's not a whole lot of information on him. But I just thought it was interesting because
that is interesting.
I've
never ever once heard that. Not once. In neither one of the stories that you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Not heard of either one or either one of them.
Well, I'm sure you're super excited about the second one there.
Yes, I can dish about this McDonald's experience.
But yeah, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer on dishing out this McDonald's experience we keep hinting at.
I know.
It might not be as exciting to them as it was for us.
Oh my God, it was great for me.
Yeah, it was one of those you had to be there moments, but we're going to share it anyway.
Yeah. So I am doing an urban legend.
Okay.
Comes out of Michigan. Go figure. I know you had said that you had heard of this before.
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen this anywhere on any of the podcasts that I listen to.
Right. Well, you listen to more true crime podcasts.
That's true. So I went for it anyways. If you've
Right.
already heard it, oh well. You'll have to wait for the McDonald's experience at the end.
Well, at the end or in the middle, we'll see when it happens.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of information out there about this case, but I think there's enough to kind of make a scene. What was that?
Ghost of the Emporium.
Oh,
I mean, we do have a lot of old stuff around here. There might be some attachments
I
to
know,
it.
and you're one of them. Sorry. Had to piggyback off of the birthday episode.
Well, the ghost catcher is currently asleep right now.
Yes, he is. So there's a story out of Southwest Michigan. It's in the Saugatuck or Holland area. I know you would know Holland over the other, correct?
I've heard of it. I've never been there.
Well, we'll have to go at least once. I want to go to the Tulip Festival there.
No.
But anyways, it's about a group of feral beings with small childlike bodies and alien-like heads.
Okay.
Like just large domes.
So are they like shaped like the traditional gray alien, the super skinny body with the inverted egg-shaped head, basically?
It doesn't say anything about egg-shaped head.
I'm just trying to describe what the gray aliens look like.
And the small bodies is just because they're like the size of children.
Okay.
But I don't know about the egg-shaped head. Just they have large heads.
Oh, just going by off with what you were saying. That
Oh, I don't know. In 1929, there was a mansion owned by Dorr Felt. Dorr, D-O-R-R. Never heard that name. But it was owned by him and his family. The family chose to sell their estate to a seminary for boys in 1949. From there, the seminary supposedly built an asylum, or what they called a hospital, behind it, which they referenced it as a hospital, but called it Junction Insane Asylum.
Okay.
Yeah. The children that were in the care of the doctor, or as some reference him, the scientist, within Junction were experimented on as a means of curing them of their ailments.
And all you can think of is that this guy is like in a white lab coat with the goggles and bald because he's calling him a scientist. I don't know why it popped up in the...
I mean, you never know.
Why?
I didn't see any photos of the
Why
dude,
the description of a man, the common mad scientist popped in my head, but anyhow.
So the ailment that these children happened to suffer from was hydrocephalus.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
It's water on the brain correctly?
Yes, which causes the head to enlarge.
Okay.
For those not familiar with this condition, to simplify, it means that there's excess fluid on the brain, which gives the head a more prominent look than quote-unquote normal heads. Hence the name Melonheads. This is what these were called. This condition also leads to pressure on the brain, obviously because of the water pressing down on the brain, which then in turn is going to cause just a plethora of other abnormalities. Back when this tale originated, we didn't have the technology or the resources available for this condition that we do now. So back then, this led to experimentation, which undoubtedly caused even further problems.
Like, you just saying that, like, just reminds me, it's like how people are like, oh, talking about the good old days, I wish I still lived there. No, you don't. I mean, this is one of those examples of it, The past was a shitty place.
Agreed.
It might seem better because you're remembering the good parts of it. You're not remembering all the bad parts of it and all the advancements of it.
Like children being tortured as experiments.
Yep.
The patients reportedly were physically and mentally abused on top of having the experiments performed on them. The children became hateful of anyone who didn't look the way they did, which would have been a lot of people because hydrocephaly wasn't really a lot back then.
And in these times, a lot of people with disabilities would be, shipped off to these kind of places to quote unquote be forgotten, basically.
Yeah, no, you're not gonna get me started on that.
I know. You're gonna, if I get you started on that, it's gonna be like me in the Halloween episode needing a big ass red note that says "Do not start," a rant.
Yeah. They became incredibly hostile towards the doctor that was treating them.
Which is no surprise, because I wouldn't be too friendly that somebody was torturing me like they were.
Right. It said that they basically went from children to like wild beings on this guy. Once the hospital was forced to close, the children had nowhere to go. So together they turned on the doctor, beating him, killing him, and then eating him before escaping into the woods around the Felt Mansion.
It's so weird that, like, my life has been, like, surrounded by cannibalism in the last couple of weeks. Because the two main shows I listened to, Dark Windows and Time Suck, both had cannibal-related episodes the past week.
If you can't beat them, I guess.
Okay, look, there we go. Now we're quoting, fake-ass Jeffrey Dahmer quotes.
Yeah, so the Melonheads took over the tunnels below ground as their means of, like, hiding, travel, and to use it as, like, a vantage point for anybody that happens to be coming nearby, so that they could use it and pop out to attack whoever came close to them. They started to branch out and leave the tunnels and into the surrounding woods to carry out more brutal attacks while waiting within the shadows. This tale has been told in numerous ways for centuries, even spreading out and entering Ohio and Connecticut, which has similar versions, though Michigan is where it originated.
Okay.
Some that have tried to dig up history on the subject have come to find that the asylum set behind the Felt Mansion never actually existed. Documents found state that after it was a seminary, and then it became a police station, and ultimately a prison after that.
Okay.
Others claim that all of the asylum talks was legitimate. There was even a horror movie about this in 2001 called The Melonheads. I've never heard of it.
My guess would have been like The Hills Have Eyes, just because of how they're saying they were feral, even though they were inbred in that movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of like how Ed Gein, I gotta throw it either way, I know.
Yeah.
Most people know it as Ed Gein. Was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Leatherface.
Yep.
So the remains that once stood as an asylum, seminary, police station, and prison are long gone. The Felt Mansion closed its doors for a while, but was bought by Lakeland Township in 1995 and registered as a historic place. It has been reopened and is now a tourist attraction, actually offering tours within. There are still thrill seekers that go out on the property at night hoping to encounter the Melonheads. Some say they feel that they're being watched. Some say they have seen their glowing eyes. I don't know where the glowing eyes came from.
Well, depending on what's around it, it could be roadway markers.
Maybe.
Like on the side of the highway, designating curve, the highway marker, reflective highway markers, is probably what they're seeing.
Deep in the woods, though? I doubt it.
Deep in the woods. Or, some local, fucking with people, put, driveway markers on a fucking tree.
Could be.
It's like...
You never know. Others say that they feel and see nothing out of the ordinary. We'll probably never know for sure, and I'm 100% okay with that, because the thought of former tiny kids with glowing eyes and giant heads running around in the shadows and attacking people is beyond the scope of shit I'm willing to experience firsthand.
Right.
But that's that. Like, do you think it's plausible?
Probably for a short time, but not, like, to this day, because, one, they're going to grow up into adults. Two, and if the hydrocephalus is probably left untreated, it probably could be fatal. So...
I personally don't think it's plausible. If you've ever seen pictures of children that have, like, severe hydrocephaly, their heads are so heavy that they can't hold them up. So the thought of them, like, running around and, like, being out in the woods and fending for themselves when their neck can't even, support the weight of their head.
It's like I was saying,
so.
Being left untreated, it can be fatal. So that then the possibility of growing up to be adults or even...
Yeah.
Did they ever say how old these children were supposed to be?
Nope. Just children. So I would assume that it's... technically children is anything under 18.
Right.
But when I think children, I think, like, 10 and under.
Right.
And not, like, preteen and teen.
Right. It's basically, like, anywhere from between toddler age and 12 years old.
Yeah. Anything pre-pube. That's it. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
But, had never seen this anywhere, so I was like, wonder if... I'm sure people have heard about it, but
Right.
like I said, I don't care.
Right. So, kind of like I do too, but, since we're kind of bending the rules on this one, because, we wanted to branch out into something a little bit different from our weird history and true crime.
Yeah. And we will from time to time shake it up.
Right. Because, gotta get out of that comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah,
a little
buddy.
bit. So you ready to hear about the Beast of Busco?
Beast of Busco. Can I please tell the McDonald's story first? Or do I have to wait till the very end of this story?
No, I mean, there's a part of my,
Okay.
notes here.
Okay, then
I'm sure you'll know when.
Okay.
All right. So, the Beast of Busco. Now, like I said at the beginning of our episode, that we didn't really plan on doing some well-known topics. Well, I'm kind of breaking this rule for Sarah. Because where the Beast of Busco takes place at is in Churubusco, Indiana, which we travel through quite frequently to go visit her sister that lives down in the Fort Wayne area.
Yep.
And when you first come in to Churubusco, you see this giant concrete turtle, and on their sign that says "Welcome to Churubusco" it says "Turtletown, USA."
Yep.
And so I'm sure you've always been curious why there's this.
I have, yeah, because it's not near like a body of water or anything.
It's just weird that out in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, there's this giant concrete turtle. It's probably like 8 to 10 feet tall, is my guess.
It's pretty big.
But we never gotten out to really look at it.
Yeah.
It might be smaller. I don't know. So Churubusco, Indiana, is about 16 miles to the northwest of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Churubusco has a population of approximately 1,800 people currently. Churubusco was founded in 1847 after the two towns of Union and Franklin, Indiana merged together after their populations had grown large enough for a post office to be listed from the Postmaster General. The Postmaster General ordered them that they would have to apply for this joint post office, though it wasn't going to issue for both. Before this, they would have to make the trip of 11 miles one way to Columbia City, Indiana to get their mail. And in this
time... Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So at this time, we're talking about horse and buggy, by foot, horseback, whatever. That's a long way to go.
Yeah.
To go get your Sears Cadillac this time to build a new house.
That's the distance I drive to work every day.
And it's about the same for me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, thinking about walking that maybe once a week, every other day or whatever,
That's crazy.
just to go get your mail. Wonder if they had junk mail.
Ooh, spam mail. I don't know.
Junk mail like we do now. Maybe I might have to look into that. Let's see, when did junk mail first start showing up? Anyhow, the postmaster denied either name to be used eventually because Union and Franklin, Indiana already existed, established post office.
Uh-huh.
So they decided to combine Union and Franklin together to make Churubusco. Churubusco was suggested by a local school teacher as it would be a patriotic fit because at this time when this was going on in Churubusco, the Mexican-American War was going on over recognizing boundaries of the state of Texas, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So the Battle of Churubusco, it was just won by the United States military at this time. So that's where they came up with this idea of it being patriotic. Some of the sources said that this school teacher's family member fought in the Battle of Churubusco, basically.
Huh.
That's why they suggested it. And now, so Churubusco is home of the most angriest McDonald's patron I've ever seen in my life.
Me too. It's my favorite McDonald's, and I swear I say it every time we go by.
Oh yeah,
we're approaching, and you see the McDonald's sign, and I'm like, "Oh, there's my favorite McDonald's."
Or I tell you that here it comes or whatever. But anyhow,
so yeah, we were on our way to my sister's house and happened to stop at this McDonald's to just grab a hamburger and fries, just to put something in our bellies before we had dinner later on.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there trying to get out. I will say that their parking lot entrance is really stupid.
Right.
It's super narrow.
Well, not only is narrow that I couldn't see lines for shit in the first place.
Right. And this dude in this big dude in this tiny little car tries to turn left into the McDonald's as we're trying to turn left back out onto the road. So he's sitting there in the turn lane waiting to go left. We're sitting in our turn lane waiting to go left. And he is throwing a holy fucking tantrum. He's slamming his fists on the steering wheel and just, you can see him screaming. I wish I could have heard what he was saying.
Oh, he was probably calling me everything that you fucking could just because, you know, I didn't leave him like 90 feet to get his little tiny ass car in between my truck and the fucking curb at the time.
Yeah, it was a very tiny car. But yeah, he was just having a holy fit, slamming his fist down on the steering wheel and screaming and grabbing the steering wheel and like shaking himself back and forth.
Yeah, like his intensity of anger could be measured by how much his car was shaking.
It was,
and he had more than enough room, to get that car in between my truck and the curb.
Yes, he did.
But anyhow,
and he decided to
or he could have used the back fucking entrance that we saw after we pulled in there.
Yeah, but he decided to sit there and keep having a fit as giant empty space went by, you know, and he could have easily turned in numerous times, and you got sick of waiting on him to turn in, so you were like, fuck it, and pulled out in front of him. And that made him even more mad. But yeah, so anytime we go past there, I'm like, that's all I can see is that dude having a fit in his car, shaking the shit out of that car.
Yeah. One of these times we're gonna have to stop at that place that called Magical on across the street, just because I love that fucking neon sign that they have.
I know you do. I have made mention of stopping there a couple times, and we just don't.
I know. Because
by the time we get home, we've already eaten dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's the McDonald's incident in Churubusco. Yeah.
I know it might not be as exciting to you guys as it is for us, but, you know, it's one of those...
God, it was hilarious.
It's one of those, you had to be there, dude, kind of things.
So, he was mad. That boy wanted a fucking burger so bad.
It's like, calm down. The McDoubles and the pies aren't going anywhere. Anyhow, so let's get back on track here with the Beast of Busco.
Yes, he was the Beast of Busco.
Maybe that's who it really was.
Can you imagine if he listens to this and he's like,
those goddamn assholes. Hey, maybe we might finally get an email.
Not one we want, though.
But hey, it'll be our first email, and we're going to frame it and put it on our wall.
Hey, I'm the giant bitch that had a fit because I couldn't get into the McDonald's parking lot. You guys are assholes, and your podcast sucks.
It'll be like those restaurants that use the 1-star Yelp reviews as their advertisements on their shirts.
Yep. Oh my god. Yep. That'd be great.
It reminds me, another one that Kevin told me about for their show was I think it was a 3 or 1-star review that they got and said, tried it once and didn't like it.
Tried it once.
From what I remember, that's all he said it was tried it once, didn't like it.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So, okay, anyhow.
Yeah.
Let's get back to it. All right. The Beast of Busco was originally spotted in 1898 when farmer Oscar Falk had seen a giant turtle in the lake on his farm, but eventually dropped it as the locals figured it was just Falk trying to bring excitement to this sleepy little town in Indiana.
Yeah. The
Beast of Busco, or Oscar as he got as a nickname later on after the name of the original lake's owner, I'm going to refer to the Beast of Busco as Oscar from probably here on out.
Okay. Just
to make it easier on my narration for you.
Yeah.
The Beast didn't get the name Oscar until 1948 originally. And this is where the next sighting of Oscar originally happened.
Okay.
Oscar was, first originally spotted in 1898, and then it was spotted again in 1948 by two men that were fishing the same lake that became known as Falk Lake at this time, named after the original owner. These two fishermen said they had seen a turtle that weighed at least 500 pounds and the head was huge. They didn't say how big the head is.
That'd be a big ass turtle.
Yeah. Gail Harris, who now owns the farm in 1947, had heard of the tales of the giant turtle, but didn't really pay attention to them until seeing Oscar himself in 1948, as well in the early fall when he was helping a minister repair a roof. The minister had pointed out something moving across the lake at first. The handyman duo just ignored it and went on their work until they noticed it swimming again the opposite direction the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know what a turtle looks like. You know what a turtle looks like. The listeners know what a turtle looks like, so...
I would hope.
Oscar was, mostly described by Harris to be as big as a kitchen table with the head of the size of a baby. Didn't say how many months, just the size of a baby. Probably just whatever pops in your head. There you go. That's how big Oscar's head's supposed to be.
Was this like a tortoise or something?
No, it wasn't possibly tortoise because of the behavior that Oscar allegedly has that I'm going to get into here
Okay.
later. And also, how big is a kitchen table? You know, I mean,
Yeah, they come in a wide variety of sizes.
yeah, so
This could be considered a kitchen table.
yeah, which is we're using a standard size card table for our recording studio for the most part. If anyone's actually curious,
Because we're super wealthy and
we're a professional podcast. What are you talking about?
fuck yep.
But it was also said that Oscar was 4 feet wide and close to also 5 feet in length. So yeah, I'm out of a kitchen table, which is approximately the size of our table.
That would be a pretty giant turtle.
Yeah. Harris would go send his son Vaughn to go get the rest of the family, while Harris got in a rowboat and attempt to get closer and grab him by the tail. But Oscar heaved himself out of the water, flipping over Harris's boat, forcing him to grab onto a tree nearby.
Dang.
As, you know, the story goes of Oscar. The hunt for Oscar the giant turtle didn't really gain traction until 1949 after a Fort Wayne newspaper sent the story out over the Associated Press newswire. I think it was called UPI at the time, but Associated Press is basically the same thing. While Churubusco and the Beast are getting national attention, locals are trying to capture Oscar the turtle with different methods. Gail Harris was also concerned with not hurting Oscar as well, so Harris had it in his head that he was going to get that turtle, but trying not to injure him.
Right.
In a 6-month period, thousands of people would come to Churubusco to either capture Oscar, in an attempt to capture Oscar, or just out of curiosity of, you know, hearing the story of the Beast of Busco and everything. They had to call in the state police, keep everyone under control, and direct trafficking Churubusco, which, you know.
Wow. And that town is so tiny.
Well, I mean, we really haven't seen a lot of Churubusco other than down the main strip. But
okay,
you know.
the downtown area is so tiny, so I
Right.
can't imagine the city itself being very big.
By May of 1949, the interest in Oscar is starting to fade, but Harris decided that he wasn't going to give up on trying to capture this giant turtle that had became named Oscar by this point. Some of the methods that they tried to capture Oscar the turtle with, but they all failed, were making a short trap with stakes and chicken wire. Do you know how a short trap works?
No.
Basically, is you mark off an area using like indigenous, or usually use this method mostly, so they would put out stakes and netting in with the tide, so the fish would be funneled into it, but they wouldn't swim back out, so they could just go wide through the water and pick the fish up, basically. Yep. So they tried doing that at first, using a short trap to capture Oscar, but he broke through the chicken wire. And they also made another trap out of steel pipe and chain link fence, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
He broke through that as well too.
Well, yeah, being that big, that's like a boat trying to come through.
Yeah. And like, there wasn't really a whole timeline on exactly when all these traps were used, but it's a lot of the stuff that I found. So I'm just listing them off. They hired professional deep sea divers to walk the bottom of the lake, but they stopped due to equipment failure on one diver, and another one got stuck in chest deep lake muck. So he called off for his own personal safety.
Right.
And they also had hired an airplane in to fly over the lake to maybe spot Oscar the turtle from the sky. Allegedly, one of them lassoed Oscar's leg. Some accounts say they kind of hooked his shell with a grappling hook, but he was starting to swamp the boat, so they let him go.
Ooh, yeah.
They also tried using a female turtle to lure him out after 2 men from Indianapolis tried to claim that they caught Oscar. Come to find out that it was a female sea turtle instead, so they got the idea, hey, why don't we use a female turtle to lure him out? But if they don't know the species of turtle that Oscar is supposed to be. So
wait, they claimed that they had gotten Oscar.
Yeah, so 2 men.
But it wound up being a sea turtle?
Yep, that they purchased and brought up here.
Oh, okay, I was like, sea turtles wouldn't survive up here.
Yeah, well, technically they could.
They
at the
have
Shed
to
Aquarium.
be in saltwater.
Yeah, but they try to use this sea turtle to try and say, yo, we caught Oscar, trying to cash in on the instant fame.
Yeah.
In the last attempt to prove Oscar's existence, Harris starts to drain the 7-acre lake. But so this would draw new attention into, finding Oscar, so the crowds would return to Churubusco again, but he would start charging a fee this time to help pay for the pumping and the loss of his crops due to onlookers, since he was a farmer and this was on his farm.
Yeah.
After thousands of people, including celebrities and senators, gathered around the lake in hopes to see Oscar, which they never did. But according to the story of the Beast of Busco, on October 13th of 1949, this is when approximately 2,000 curious onlookers would get their wish, as Oscar would appear by leaping out of the water to feast on a live duck set on a trap.
Okay.
Now, I have not once in my life seen a video of the internet of a turtle jumping out of water or on dry land or whatever.
Snapping turtles.
Well, maybe.
And they can get pretty big.
It's true. From what it sounds like, that may or may not what Oscar could possibly be.
Yeah.
The muck-covered lake was in Oscar's favor because this lake muck was wearing out and breaking down Gail Harris's pump and his tractor, stressing it out that he was using to drain the 2,000 gallons out of the 7-acre lake.
Uh-huh.
In the period that he started doing this, if I remember correctly, I forgot to put in my notes, pretty sure it said that it was in September when he started doing this. He got it drained down to 1 acre.
Dang.
Yeah.
In a month.
Well, over time, basically, because he was draining this lake. Well, yeah, he was still draining the lake until about December.
Oh, okay.
November, December, I think it was.
I just assumed because you said October 13th.
Oh, no, October 13th is when Oscar made his appearance.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Jumping. I got you.
So after his pump and his tractor breaks down, he would then hire a dredging crane to dredge the bottom of the lake. Now, I mentioned this once before in the Halloween episode about the Protestants when I accidentally used the word dredge.
Oh, yeah.
So do you know what dredging is exactly?
Not
okay,
really,
so
no.
dredging, so you ever heard the term dredging the lake or dredging the river? Basically is that they scrape all the crap off the bottom.
Okay, yeah.
All the extra shit that's not supposed to be there, like sediment and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's basically used to clear out waterways in larger areas. So they may or may not dredge like the bottom of the Mississippi so ships can pass through safely. For that quick example. Well, he's still trying to drain out the lake and he's dredging it also. Gail Harris ends up getting an appendicitis, so everything's put on hold until he gets better. By the time he ends up getting well enough to continue searching for Oscar, the lake has been refilled by rainwater, snowfalls, and stuff like that. He finally decides to call off the search and claiming Oscar won at this point. In some of the videos I watch, his surviving family, like, they didn't really talk about this. They kind of consider it as a black mark, but they're like, our grandfather's integrity was too great to make something up. So if he said he saw something, he saw something. His family believed that him stressing out trying to find this turtle is what killed him. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything on Find a Grave about it. Busco did decide to claim the title Turtle Town USA because of this. Like, the local businesses were serving up turtle soup and turtle everything down there for this point. Like, and now they identify as Turtle Town USA, like I said.
Yep.
They have a 3-day festival held in the earlier part, well, maybe in the middle of June, and probably it's the second or third week of June, called Turtle Days down there, and it's one of the longest running festivals in the state of Indiana. It has all your usual carnival rides, junk food alley, stuff like that. Also, an interesting thing, one of the local historian for there, we pass our office anytime we go to Fort Wayne.
Do we?
Yep. So it's on one of the street corners.
Oh,
he was actually 10 years old at the time when the hunt for Oscar was happening, and he recounted some of the stories that he heard about how the Beast of Busco gave this small town in Indiana some notoriety that he could possibly go anywhere in the United States and tell him you were from Churubusco, and he'd say, "Tell us about the giant turtle."
Huh.
So
that's cool.
I forget the name of the town. They believe that Oscar may or may have not used underground tunnel systems between lakes because another giant turtle was spotted 100 miles away in another Indiana town.
That's a long way for a turtle to move.
I doubt that's the case.
That is a very long way.
And I also believe that Oscar could have been a snapping turtle, more likely an alligator snapping turtle. But alligator snapping turtles are not indigenous to Indiana.
But they could survive here.
They could probably survive here, be an apex predator, basically. I looked into it, alligator snapping turtles shells can get up to 32 inches depending on its age. The largest one on record is about 300 pounds. And this was in 1943.
So their estimates could have been way off.
And I got on Google Street View out of curiosity because mentioning this roof, and where the lake is, there is it didn't help that Google didn't help with their Google car. It didn't turn down this one street where this fucking house was.
course.
So I could see, if I could see even the lake from the road in the Google images, I'm going to guess that you probably could see the lake. The size of that turtle had to be to see from the roof. Had to be the size of a kitchen table, or also was a VW bug, as also described. That's how big Oscar was.
But, measurements, because they couldn't get close enough, obviously, to, measure it. But then, it's like one dude's catch a fish, and they're like, I caught a fish this big, and it was really this big.
And that's basically what happened with the Legend of Oscar, basically. So I'm not wondering if that giant concrete statue is a compilation of all the measurements, and this is...
It could be.
That's how they came up with the giant turtle statue that you first see when you come in from the north side of Cryptids.
Because it about 500 pounds, and as big as it is, it could be.
That's the Beast of Busco. Oh, and one other thing about it was that I could only find it on one source. Actually, no, I found it on two sources. That some of Gail Harris's attempts to stop Oscar from hiding was that he would dynamite the area to blow some of the lake muck out so he couldn't hide, but they also believe that him doing this possibly could have killed Oscar at the same time.
Aww.
If this giant turtle existed.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And also, there's a restaurant in Decatur, Indiana. We've passed it before. It's called Two Brothers. Yes. They have a turtle shell painted up in their bar restaurant. It says the Beast of Busco on it. I tried to find a picture of it.
Oh my goodness.
But I couldn't find it. They may have taken it down. I don't know if they'd still have it up.
Well,
maybe next time we get on there, maybe we'd stop in there for dinner instead of going to our usual Decatur spot.
Oh no, that barbecue though.
I know. It's like we're just popping. Hey, I want to see the Beast of Busco shell you all got.
I want to go get pizza there.
Monster Inn Pizza. Yes, if you ever find yourself
famous Monster Pizza.
If you ever find yourself in Decatur, Indiana, and if Soul Pig is way too busy, go to Monster Pizza.
Famous Monster
Pizza. It's an all horror themed pizza parlor down there, and they show classic horror movies on a big screen there all at the same time.
Like all of the Universal monsters. That's like their running theme.
Yeah, our first time that we had gone there, it was the night.
It was the night of Halloween.
Was it? I thought it was the night before.
Nope, it was the night of.
All the staff was dressed up in costume, and they were showing a Frankenstein 2000, I think, from the 1970s.
Yep.
And all the pizzas are named after the Hollywood monsters. Like we got the all meat that was called the Wolfman, obviously.
Yep.
So.
And I got that song in my head. Wolfman kick up.
Yep.
That's a good song. I know he posted the link to it in our Facebook group, and you should go listen to it if you haven't.
Give Reverend Peyton the Big Damn Band some support. They are actually great to go see live. Even if you don't like country blues, Sarah thought they were kind of gimmicky until she saw it live. And
I did.
And the only thing she said after she saw it is like, I get it now.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic live. Like, you had said you had never seen somebody so fucking happy to be doing what he was doing than that guy.
Right.
And yeah, no, it felt right when I saw it all together.
Yeah.
But yeah. He's got to be into some weird shit.
Oh, I'm sure he is, because it's weird.
It's really weird, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, no, do a shot every time the Reverend says weird. Don't do that. You're going to die from alcohol poisoning.
Anyways, social medias. You can...
We're not going to be super aggressive about it this week?
Social media! No.
Oh. Okay. We're going to be serious about it now.
Yeah.
That's the clip. Anyway.
So, like we said last week, our website is now live. You can check it out at macabreemporiumpodcast.com. You can join our Facebook group by searching Macabre Emporium. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Macabre Emporium Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Macabre Emporium. If you have any stories of the paranormal, your local true crime or weird history that you want us to look into and possibly do an episode on, email us at macabreemporiumpod@gmail.com. Remember to follow, rate, share, like wherever you can and help us grow our little podcast.
Yes. Every little review, reference you give somebody looking for podcasts, it helps us out a bit. And
yep.
Like checking our map to see where downloads are out of curiosity. It's surprising to see that we've actually gotten some international ones. I know some of the international ones, but I don't know anybody in Australia like I used to, like when I was playing Diablo 3, like hardcore playing it. Like
Nerd.
Like how when we were playing it,
yeah.
I was like, that's how I was when it first came out.
Good Lord.
I haven't talked to them in eon, so I don't doubt it was them.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'm friends with them on Facebook anymore. But I was surprised to see, the ones from Belgium and
England.
some of those I know who they are.
Oh.
But the one in Sweden, nope, no clue.
Oh yeah, we did get a Sweden listener.
So we are now technically an international podcast now.
Ooh. International dipshits of mystery.
See, I told you we're a professional podcast because we're international now. So anyhow, Sarah, I'm thinking it might be time to close up the Emporium for today.
I agree.
And so until next time,
remember to creep it real. Is he done? You want to go take a shit next? Maybe puke in the kitchen?
No, Salem's the puker for audio. He's clawing in sticky beans.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start that over.
Okay.